Our minority MPs to boycott Parliament in second day of protests against the detention of Chairman Wontumi under investigation for fraud and money laundering. Also, the chairman of the interim Hajj board, Collins Dauda, dismisses criticism labeling him a failure in organizing this year's Hajj pilgrimage. Also ahead, we explore whether or not the demolished Sakumor Ramsar site can be restored to its natural wetland status. We've got details of those stories and plenty more coming up shortly. This is News Central. I'm Kemeni Amano. The news starts now. Now, minority MPs are expected to boycott Parliament today in protest of the continued detention of NPP Ashanti Region Chairman in custody of Iyoko for multiple offences. Now, we also know that yesterday the MPs boycotted proceedings amidst controversy and staged a protest march demanding bail for the MP. Demanding bail for Chairman Wontumi pegged at some 50 million Ghana cedis with two sureties to be justified. Minority leader Aphenyo Makin, who led the protest, said the bail condition was unreasonably too high, adding it was an attempt to punish and keep him in custody. Now, the MP staged a dramatic sit-in protest accusing state security authorities of using their machinery to frustrate the chairman. Now, the MPs and other party faithful, however, left the premises of Iyoko after hours of the protest. Despite being granted bail since Wednesday, his inability to satisfy the bail conditions has kept him in custody. As his legal team raced to meet the bail bond, Iyoko has remained silent, with many asking why the minority will rather not use the court to vary the bail conditions. Now, last night, the Deputy Attorney General put on social media that Bernard Nchibwesiako, who is Chairman Wontumi, is under investigations for fraud, causing financial loss to the state and money laundering. We can now have a quick conversation with security expert Dr. Ishmael Norman. Doc, I appreciate your time with us today. Is it now over, would you say?
Kamina, I don't think it is over, my dear. It is just a little pause of activity. But I actually empathize with my micro minority and what they are doing, because one of their kind is under stress and is perceived to be being intimidated by a security valid state security. Unfortunately for them, since Martin Kpego's bail suit at the Supreme Court and the ruling, all offenses are bailable. But it doesn't mean that when you are given a bail condition that you can basically poo-poo it. You have to find a way to meet a condition. After all, they are not asking you to come and pay down 50 million Ghana cedis. It's the surety. You mean to say that with all the collective asset and wealth of the MPP party, they can put together two sureties for 50 million. Even Chairman Wontumi's own asset, his castle. He boasts about it in Kumasi, alone can do that. But what is happening? And the sit down that they are doing, the illegal demonstration that they are doing, it is all evidence of the implosion of the MPP party. It has nothing to do. Honorable Opon Nkrumah said, that is not the law we are talking about. This is politics. If it is politics, there are groups within the MPP party who want to see the Wontumi punished, and there are groups that want to exonerate him or remove him from being punished. But you cannot fault Yoko for following his mandate and making sure that whoever has gone against the mandate of Yoko and the laws of this country is punished. And so for me, from the point of view of the law, of the policy, public policy, Yoko is on the right path, and what the minority is doing is not the right way. We haven't seen his lawyer, Honorable Apiakubi, stand there or sit there with them, because he knows that the best way to play this game is to go to court. 48 hours, go to court and have your client released or plead for a lesser bail amount. But
Indeed.
you cannot simply sit in front of Yoko as if what Yoko is doing is illegal.
Well,
it is not illegal.
Speaking of that sit-in protest, there are those who have said the intelligence agencies should have been able to anticipate that this could happen. Some protests of some sort could happen, and that seems to be missing in the whole security arrangement around Chairman Wontumi's detention. But you tell us that you don't think that this is over. What are your expectations of our intelligence agencies in the ability to foresee how this could develop?
Some of the NPP people are trying to protect anyone for making sure that any one of their members that is accused of or suspected to have committed some crime against the state, the public purse, doesn't provide the evidence that the state needs, because it will network to other people, other interests, and the party will suffer greater damage than just Wontumi. If Wontumi starts to talk, just like Adubuahi, if Adubuahi starts to talk, it will extend to other members of the party.
Oh, you think that's what's happening?
Afraid of. I beg your pardon?
You think that is what could happen?
It could happen, and it will happen, because Wontumi cannot do all these things. For example, the monies that he was paid, the 11 million that he used to buy treasury bill, the 39 million that he used to put into that paradise insurance, and so on and so forth, the $45 million for construction and all of that. Do you think he's the only one who was chopping that money?
Well, at this time, they are all just accusations and allegations against the MPP regional chair.
There are allegations, but somebody has to protect the facts from coming out. Because yes, it is alleged, but it is not alleged that the money wasn't paid. The money was paid. How the money was spent is what Yoko and the CID are trying to find out. How Akonta Maini polluted the water bodies is part of the reasons why the investigation is going on. Who were the people that Wontumi was supporting? The monies, was he the only one chopping the money? No. This is interest that people are trying to cover. But you can't do it. The evidence must come out. And I am afraid the best way for them to do this is not to do a sit down. That is for people who are not experienced in politics. But if you are a parliamentarian, with all due respect, this is not how you play. You play behind the scenes. You play it with the law enforcers. You play it in a courthouse, but not in the street. Justice does not sit on the cobway of Yoko Road. It sits in a courtroom.
Very well. Doc, how about you hang out with us a little bit longer, because I want to take us to Parliament now and find out what is happening on the floor of the House. Remember that at the beginning of our news program today, I mentioned that the minority MPs are likely to boycott Parliament today as they head for Yoko for a second sit-in protest after yesterday's, the similar incidents there yesterday. Let's connect now with Evelyn Tingma. But before we do, perhaps let's bring you some pictures from the floor of the House taken a while ago, where we are told minority MPs have reported in the chamber. So that's what you're seeing on your screen at the moment. A few of them already seated. I see the Deputy leader Patricia PJ there, seated, engaging with other members of leadership on that caucus, having a conversation. You see pockets of gatherings also there as well, having conversation, exchanging pleasantries as well. But what's the situation now? Evelyn Timman will be the one to tell us what it is at the moment. Evelyn, good afternoon to you. Now, paint us a picture of the situation in Parliament as we speak now. Hello, Evelyn. Well, Evelyn, you have been in Parliament.
Okay.
Right, go ahead, Evelyn.
Hello, Kemeni.
Yes.
Hello, Kemeni. Can you hear me, please?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Right. So I was saying that the First Deputy Speaker, Bernard Ahiampong, walked into the chamber some 15 minutes ago to start proceedings. And, of course, after the normal vote and proceedings, the correction of vote and proceedings, the majority leader, Muhammad Ayariga, went ahead to present the business statement for the week, for next week, and basically the activities that Parliament will be undertaking next week. And so currently as we speak, MPs are raising concerns born out from the business statement that was presented to the House by the majority leader. And so we had earlier the Deputy Minority Whip, Habib Idrisu, raising the concern that Friday will be a holiday for Eid al-Adha. And then, but as the president promised, they're supposed to have 2 holidays for the Muslims, but it's indicated that they were having only 1. And so he was saying that as majority leader, he should ensure that the interior minister gives them that 2 holidays, because the Eid al-Fitr, they had 2 holidays, and then the Eid al-Adha, he's also expecting that they should have 2 holidays. Otherwise, the president would have deceived the people of or the Muslim community. And so that was a concern from Habib. Other MPs are currently raising concerns out of the business statement that was presented to the House by the majority leader, Kemeni.
Indeed, thank you so much for those live pictures we are seeing from Parliament. But we also get an indication that there could be a repeat of yesterday where the minority caucus walked out on the chamber and then walked all the way from Parliament to Ioko's offices. Talk to us about what you're picking up.
Yeah, so Kemeni, I also suspect that the MPs, the minority MPs, may walk out again. But probably they just wanted the proceedings to start for them to take part, because you know that MPs, you cannot just absent yourself from parliamentary proceedings. And so they know the rules very well. So I suspect they want to take part later. They can go out of the chamber. You remember, if as an MP, if you absent yourself for 15 days, and your seat would be declared vacant, and if a motion is brought to that effect. And so the MPs know about that, and so they couldn't have just absented themselves, as indicated yesterday by the minority leader, that they will absent themselves from parliamentary proceedings. And so they know the rules very well, and they are here probably to start, and then later they can move out. But because in the morning, early in the morning when we came and we saw them, they grouped and they were having chit-chat, and you could tell that there's something happening, but that we cannot tell. But as I said, they may walk out.
Evelyn, I appreciate the report and thank you so much. Evelyn Timman is our parliamentary affairs correspondent. But I can now take you live to the offices of Iyoko here in Accra, where party supporters have gathered in day 2 of this protest. Let's take a look at that now. Well, now, that is the Cape side of IOCO's offices here in Accra. You recall that it has been a point of convergence for supporters of Chairman Wontumi. And only yesterday, the minority caucus as well found themselves sitting on the Cape side there on the frontage of IOCO's offices. And today, there is the anticipation that perhaps we could have day 2 of the sit-in protest. But as you saw, very serene over there. The police vehicles are there as well. But I'll take the conversation now to Dr. Norman. Doc, thank you so much for your patience. But if there is anticipation that the minority caucus will gather on the frontage of IOCO's offices again, drawing in crowds of MPP and Chairman Wontumi supporters, what are your expectations of intelligence, of security operatives on how to ensure that day 2 of what could be a sit-in protest does not degenerate?
Does our Public Order Act allow a sit-in without permit? If it doesn't allow it, they should go get their permit. The police should not allow it to happen. I believe that the police, the riot control, they should get their accoutrements ready and make sure that they mass up there and not make this happen, because this habit is becoming a bit too much, particularly by the opposition MP and the MPP in general. And we need to have sanity when it comes to our criminal justice system. So IGP, over to you. The ball is in your court. Mass up your rat control, get there, please, if you may, and ensure that nobody gathers in front of any government agency that is doing its job. What IOCO is doing is within its mandate, and nobody would Parliament be happy if Ghanaians go there and say that because of ABCD, we do not believe, we don't trust them, we don't believe that some of them are not corrupt, and because of that, we are going to disturb and their proceedings. Would they like it? If it's not good for you, it's not good for anybody else. So for me, I believe that Ghana Police has a duty now. If you think it's going to happen, do the preemptive. Make sure it doesn't happen and stop it from happening in the future.
Dr. Norman, thank you so much for your time. We'll leave you here for now. Dr. Ishmael Norman is an analyst of security matters. We'll stay on this subject because we want to discuss that issue to do with the bill conditions. Now, remember that civil society organization, the Bright Future Alliance, has heavily criticized Ghana's judiciary, saying it's delivering weak results in the country's anti-corruption fight. Briefing the press, executive director of the alliance, Bright Ufori, is calling for urgent reforms in the judiciary, citing prolonged delays and poor outcomes in high-profile corruption cases like the Republic versus Ejenim Boateng EJ and the Cecilia Dapa cases.
The Ghanaian people respect the courts. We are law-abiding citizens that believes in due processes and constitutional order. But that trust is being stretched to its limit. The judiciary must take part in the blame for the weak results in our anti-corruption fight. And if nothing changes, the courts risks becoming one of the greatest enablers of corruption in our democracy. The first case is the Republic versus Ejenim Boateng EJ, the former PPA CEO. The trial has experienced prolonged delays, while proceedings ongoing since 2020. The second case, that's Madam Cecilia Dapa's case. The OSP initiated investigations and froze her account. However, the Accra High Court ordered the unfreezing of her assets, citing lack of evidence. The OSP later refroze her account, but the case was eventually referred to IOCO and subsequently discontinued. Let's take a look at the recent case in Kumasi, where a video surfaced showing a municipal chief executive nominee allegedly bribing assembly members to influence his confirmation vote. One would expect that in a functional judicial system or a justice system, with both video evidence and testimony from those that received the money, the case would make headlines for all the right reasons: conviction and punishment. But what happened? The court acquitted and discharged the MC nominee a few days ago on 26th May 2025. No serious legal consequences, no accountability, no justice. The message to citizens is loud and clear now. Even with proof, the corrupt can walk free. Meanwhile, the poor are jailed for stealing goods, mobile phones, handbags, and petty items within split seconds. This is not justice. This is betrayal.
Stay around that and now turn attention back to the Chairman Wontumi detention in Ioko, because what has become the subject of controversy and speaking point now is the bail conditions that his supporters say is too high. Let's have a chat with Professor at the University of Ghana Law School, Professor Kwejo Apieje Echia. Thank you so much, Prof, for your time here. But this bail conversation about, it's too high, yet we don't see them going to court at the same time. What readings are you making into this?
Well, first of all, we all need to understand that everyone has a right to bail. If you are arrested for an allegation that or suspicion that have committed any offense, you are entitled to be granted bail within a period of 48 hours according to the Constitution. And for each bail, it is subject to, it's on a case-by-case basis. No two cases are considered to be the same. So that will determine the kind of bail conditions that should be applied to a particular case. And bail conditions may include the possibility of flight risk or the possibility of reoffending or tampering with evidence, or it may also depend on the nature of the offense and the amount involved in the alleged offense. And so that will determine how much the particular state agency will say that you need to fulfill that bail condition before you are released. And so in this particular context, when the bail condition is set and the party is not satisfied, you proceed to court for the court to review the bail condition and vary it if necessary. And I think this is what all lawyers do. And incidentally, there are many of the members of parliament of the belonging to the MPP as well as the NDC who are lawyers, so they know this, and I'm sure they've done it several times for their clients. So for them to take a different approach is, to me, unfortunate and is unnecessary. It's creating needless drama, which may lead to some form of tension and even breed lawlessness, because we've seen a situation where a journalist was attacked, I think Joy FM journalist. And it's all related to the fact that invading Yoko to ask for the release of their member, party member, an influential party member. And I don't think that is how the law works. The MPs have a role to play in parliament. They're supposed to do that instead of leaving parliament and walking to Yoko and sitting down and so on. I don't think they're fulfilling their parliamentary functions, and we should hold them accountable for that.
Very well, Prof. This will not be the second time a high-profile case involving Ioko has had issues with bail. I quickly recall the former National Signals Bureau boss, who is also now in court.
Exactly.
When he's indeed right. So then my question is, who determines how reasonable a bail condition is? If this matter were to go to court, because remember that in the National Signals Bureau case as well, the court agreed and then reviewed down the bail conditions. What considerations would the court have been making at this point?
Each particular security agency has a discretion to determine the bail conditions. The law says it should not be burdensome, but if it is so, it may be due to a number of factors, because for every bail application, for every bail that is applied to a particular case, there are some conditions that to be met, and it's based on every case, the peculiarity of a particular case, and the peculiarity of the history of the suspect or the accused person. So in this particular context, there's the kind of offenses that Mr. Wontumi is alleged to have committed seems to be quite serious. And so that may account for the reason for that amount of money that Yoko is demanding as surety for to be able to grant him the bail. And we also don't know about the issues such as flight risk and the possibility of reoffending and so on. These are all factors that are taken into account in granting the bail. So if they are not satisfied about this bail condition, then they have to go to court for the court to vary it. That is the procedure.
Very well, Prof. We'll leave it here. Thank you so much for your time. Professor P.J. Echia is a professor at the University of Ghana Law School. Now, we'll stay with the judiciary because the Accra High Court has threatened to dissolve the jury hearing the Gregory Afoko murder retrial if the Attorney General is unable to reach a decision by the next adjourned date. Now, state attorneys notified the court that the AG was still reviewing the case of Afoko and Asapki Alangadi to determine whether to continue discontinue the trial and ask for adjournment, the second time the prosecution has done so. Afoko is accused of conspiring with Asapki Alangadi to murder former Upper East Region Chairman of the NPP, Adams Mahama. In April of 2024, a 7-member jury returned a hung verdict acquitting Afoko of murder and conspiracy to commit murder with a 4-3 decision, but unanimously convicted Asapki of conspiracy. Asapki Alangadi was then sentenced to death. He has since appealed the High Court's decision. Now, the High Court has ordered a retrial, but is yet to start after the Attorney General disclosed that it is reviewing the case to decide on how to proceed with it. Oh, this is still News Central here on TV3. We'll take our very first break. And when we come back, a story to expect is the Sakumor Ramsar site demolition and how it could help restore the wetlands to its natural status. Don't go away. Welcome back. Now, board chair of the Ghana Infrastructure Fund, Professor Amiyao Ekumfi, has issued a personal statement regarding his ongoing trial at the High Court. We can now bring you some details from the former board chair of the GIIF. Let's take a look at that right now. Remember, he's been responding to his issues as we have seen them in court. And in that statement, he says, I wish to state unequivocally that I have pleaded not guilty to the charges brought against me. I remain a firm believer in accountability pursued within the bounds of fairness and justice. He also goes on to say that I welcome the opportunity to clear my name and full confidence in my innocence. And that's Professor Amiyao Ekumfi there. He showed up in court for the first time earlier this week, where he entered his plea of not guilty. He's charged with causing financial loss to the state alongside the former CEO of the GIIF, Solomon Asamoah. Now, let's turn attention to something else now. The Sakumor Ramsar site, a legally protected wetland crucial for biodiversity and climate protection, continues to face massive encroachment, with more than half of its core zone already developed. Recent demolition exercises by city authorities have raised eyebrows, but are bulldozers the only solution, we ask? Deborah Mensah visited the site and spoke to engineers, officials and experts to understand the root cause of the crisis and what can be done to save the wetlands.
For years, the Sakumor Ramsar site, a protected wetland spanning 13.6 square kilometers, has suffered steady encroachment. Now, 8.32 hectares of its core zone, meant to be untouched, have been overtaken. More than half of the designated protection area gone.
It's not that we are wicked, my dear, but we want to. These are reserve sites, like we say, for species. And so God, in his own wisdom, left this place for us, and so that it can accommodate this easy flow of water when it rains. So only thing we can tell our stakeholders, everybody, the chiefs involved, everybody, that we are only pleading for them to reserve the sites for us.
With little enforcement and rising demand for land, developers moved in undeterred by zoning laws or environmental warnings. For the engineers overseeing the site, it's been a dangerous and frustrating task.
The challenge we face is that anytime we are here, we are confronted by recalcitrant langurs who always chase us out. Unfortunately, we are not having any weapons or anything that will protect us. There are situations where we come around and the developer will call somebody and the person will say, ACP Alasan from police headquarters, and the police will have to go back with us and tell us they can't guarantee our presence here.
Individuals affected continue to count their losses. But critics say these demolition exercises may be too little, too late, and could have been avoided.
Accra may start to get maybe flooded when there's no maybe rainfall, or the minute of precipitation. Means that from the uphill, like Abukubi, like Weja, like Mikado Hills, like Pokwase, Brekusu area, when the water is supposed to come down and be received by the reservoirs or the basins, all the basins have been occupied by buildings. First of all, by filling the basins with laterite or boulders of material, and then by putting up construction on them. It means that we are reducing the area where water would have occupied.
Indeed, the National Disaster Management Organization, which coordinates emergency responses, warns of dire consequences if encroachment continues.
If these Ramsar sites are encroached upon, the repercussions that comes with it. What it means is that water will not find its way into where it's supposed to be. And so it will stray into where it shouldn't be, people's homes, and destroy property and sometimes life.
Experts say protecting the Ramsar site demands more than bulldozers.
After those demolitions are done, what is next is that the Assembly have to use their National Building Regulation LI 2465 and then LAPSA, the Land Use and Special Planning Act at 2016 at 925 fully. When those laws are fully executed, I'm very sure that we'll be able to overcome these unscrupulous or poachers who go to the wetlands, which are beneficial to you and I.
For now, the Sakumor Ramsar site stands partly wounded but not entirely lost. The challenge is not just reclaiming land, but restoring trust in the systems meant to protect it.
Well, and as you may have seen, the natural vegetation of the area has completely deteriorated. The question many are now asking is that can the site be restored to hold runoff water as is expected to be? Let's connect with Professor Nana Ama Brown, the CEO of Environmental Protection Authority. Prof, good afternoon to you and thank you for your time. This must come to you at the EPA as a very worrying scene, particularly with those structures on the Ramsar site.
Yes, thank you for having me. As you see, I'm on the field at the moment. I'm not in the office, making sure that people are complying to what they are supposed to do for the environment. It's sad to see properties getting destroyed and in a demolition like this. It is sad, but we don't hold grief for anyone here because we have reiterated this several times, giving several warnings. So the whole world has set out a day that we celebrate for our wetland. It is important to preserve, reserve, protect our wetland. When it rains, the water must find a place to rest. I heard the earlier speakers, either they are residents or from NADMO, and I listened to them. They are all right on preserving waterways. We see with this demolition, it's not enough. Once we destroy the wetland, it takes a lot of effort to bring it back as wetland to the state where it used to be before it got destroyed or used or built on.
Right.
So apart from demolishing the surface, we have to also remove the foundation that the building is sitting on, because the water doesn't only move on the surface, it also moves underground as well. So once the foundation had been laid, concrete and blocks have been put there. It blocks the water also from moving horizontally on the ground beyond the surface, what we see. So I don't know if you have observed, sometimes you'll be there when you see water just sipping, coming out of the ground without any rain. So once we destroy them, we also lose some species of plants and animals that are part of our ecosystem, that are part of us, we surviving on Earth. How many times are we seeing butterflies in Accra these days? Butterflies, they normally are housed that side in wetland areas, in areas like forest areas. How many forests can you even count in Accra? So these wetlands, they store or they are home for some species that do help us to survive as humans. They help with pollination.
Right.
They help with pollination. Pollination is the time where you get the plants to reproduce and produce even food for us to eat. Once we lose this type of species, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Prof. So what I hear you say is that, listen, restoration is possible, but how long does it take to restore such an important part of our ecosystem?
Yes, the effort is even a lot of work. So we need to put in a lot of effort in restoring our ecosystem. So we need to remove all the surface block, the underground foundation, all the debris, and intentionally create canals where the water will find its way back into those wetland areas. Plant trees and allow the toads and the frogs and the butterflies and other species to settle in there. So it will take a while before we can rebuild them.
I see, Prof. I appreciate you talking to us. Thank you so much. Professor Nanama Brown-Kluche is CEO of the EPA. More of this conversation later on here on TV3. This is still News Central, and we can now bring you more stories. Chairman of the Interim Hajj Board, Collins Dauda, has dismissed criticism, labeling him as a failure in his efforts towards this year's pilgrimage. Addressing the media on Thursday, he defended the task force's dedication to ensuring safe flights and proper accommodation for pilgrims traveling to Saudi Arabia.
From reducing the cost of pilgrims from 75,000 to 62,000 and securing visas for the over 5,000 pilgrims, the Hajj Task Force believe they have excelled in their execution for 2025. Chairman of the Interim Hajj Board, Collins Dauda, disclosed that partial payments have been made towards outstanding debts owed to some caterers and airlines. He says only 2 deaths were recorded during this year's Hajj, with investigations set to commence into those repatriated under the task force's care.
I got information that some of them have been repatriated, and how they got through, I don't know. Because first of all, you must have a visa to be able to go through. How they went through, there are so many issues that after the Hajj, we'll sit down and look into. Because you do know, if you have traveled before, you know that you don't have a visa. There's no way you can cross. How did they cross here to get there? We need to find out all these things. So at the end of the exercise, we will carry out some investigation. Using our mission staff outside, we'll get the details of it. As it is now, I'm unable to speak to it effectively. But I'm aware that some people have been repatriated.
Responding to critics, Collins Dauda maintained that their criticism of his task force performance does not deter them.
5,910 passengers are in Saudi Arabia. What is the failure element here? Why are they saying we have failed? Do they provide basis for saying that? Or just because they don't like the name Collins Dauda, they are saying I have failed? That could be. Otherwise, I don't see any basis for anybody saying that we have failed. If I said I'll fly on the 10th of this month at 9 a.m. and I was able to make it 9 a.m. I said for the first flight I'll do 425 passengers, and I have 425 passengers. I flew on time. They got to Mecca, no issues. Medina, no issues. They got to Mecca, no issues. Second flight, same. Third flight, same. Fourth, same. Up to the 7th flight in Tamale, without any issues. Why would somebody say that I've failed?
Despite challenges in securing accommodations for pilgrims, he emphasized their achievement, including successful arranging travel for 5,910 pilgrims, securing hotels close to the Grand Mosque, ensuring 2 5-star hotel accommodations, and facilitating timely flights.
You're watching News Central here on TV3. We'll take another break. When we come back, we'll bring you the biggest stories from across the regions. Don't go away. Welcome back. Now, calls have intensified for prices of cement and other building materials to be reduced. On a field visit to a cement processing factory in Bupe in the Savannah region, the regional minister, Salisu Biewurubi, urged the Savannah Diamond Cement Company to reduce the price of cement, citing the recent appreciation of the Ghana cedi against the US dollar. He also stressed the need for key industry players to respond to favorable economic indicators by easing the financial burden on Ghanaians. Christopher Amwako has been following the regional minister on this field visit, joins us with more from that visit. Christopher, tell us a bit more about the call for reduction in the price of cement.
Yes, so Kevin, in recent times, there have been calls for dealers of cement to, as it were, as a result of the drop in the dollar and other issues happening in the country, for cement dealers to reduce prices of cement and other building materials. And when the Savannah Regional Minister visited the cement processing factory in Bupe, one key issue that came up has to do with the fact that prices of cement are so high as the dollar has come down, because most of the things they use in the processing of cement here in Bupe have come down as a result of the depreciation of the dollar. And so he was of the view that the prices should also come down. The factory should give it to the retailers at a lower price so that it will have an impact on the people who want to use them for their building purposes. And so that conversation came up, and the people at the factory have also given their reasons why the prices are still the same. Let's take a listen to what the minister has been telling the management of the Savannah server system.
On the citadel of the better Ghana resetting the nation, the prices of the dollar is actually coming down, and the city is gaining strength. And the production of cement, from what we can see and what they have told us, is principally local material used to produce that product. And therefore, if the prices go down, being a major market player in the north, when they reduce their prices, of course, other people will also be compelled to reduce their prices, and our people will be the major beneficiary. We've also asked the security officers to direct them to provide certain things within their area so that it can give protection to the lives of the people. Of course, as people who are managing our people, the benefits of the company to the people themselves is very paramount. And this is exactly what we are asking the company to increase their wages and remuneration for their workers and employ more, other than even relying on other secondary service providers.
Over here, thank you so much for reporting. Christopher Mwako is a Savannah region correspondent. Obviously, this is a conversation that will resonate with many Ghanaians. But also, some of us are expecting cost of free senior high school to be shared between parents and government, according to latest findings on citizens' expectations of the new government by the Center for Democratic Development, Ghana. Per the 1,331 participants involved, the progress of the educational policy continues to be threatened if financing is limited only to the government.
The 14 town halls were held in 12 administrative regions of Ghana and targeted groups or individuals for the engagement using purposive sampling approach. Participants included civil society organizations, members of the media, traditional leaders, youth groups, along with local district assembly officials from each region. Per the findings, Ghanaians are concerned about the financing for the free SHS policy, calling for cost sharing. On constitutional reforms, Ghanaians advocated for the abolition of the Council of State due to its purely advisory role and lack of impact on governance. Ghanaians are highly concerned about members of parliament who are also ministers and tend to focus more on government work, which weakens Parliament's ability to check the actions.
Everybody believes that it has to be reformed, and even that we have to think about cost sharing, because and it's related to the other issue about basic education, because people feel that we're putting all our eggs in one basket, and you cannot build an education system that way. So we really need to look at the financing of free SHS and look also at basic school, but they feel like parents should be able to take some of the costs. And the elderly, the special for which also raise issues about pension schemes and current arrangement, even for healthcare, because NHIS doesn't seem to cover some of the illnesses of old people, even transport, accessibility, all of those things. PWDs, raise issues about what percentage goes to local for them and all of that.
Deputy Chief of Staff in charge of administration, Nanaoye Bampo-Addo, said the findings resonate with the NDC's reset agenda.
The findings spoke to issues with implementation of free SHS and the need to review free SHS. So these really resonate and fall in place in terms of the proposals also that NDC has. So as a listening government, we are going to take the recommendations on board and we will have further engagements.
The findings further reveal that the current 4-year presidential term be maintained with a maximum of 2 terms to ensure electoral accountability.
Now, the Minister for Labour, Employment and Jobs, Dr. Rashid Pelpo, is urging Nurses and Midwives Association to hold off plans to strike and return to the negotiation table. Speaking exclusively to our Labour Affairs correspondent, Daniel Opoku, Dr. Pelpo warned that a strike at this time could put lives at risk and further strain Ghana's health sector. But the association's president, Perpetual Ofori Ampofo, insists that any decision to suspend the strike will depend on government action, specifically the full implementation of their conditions of service.
It's been nearly 24 hours since the leadership of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association announced plans to withdraw their services starting next week. The announcement has created widespread concern, particularly within the health sector, where disruptions could have serious consequences. In a statement, the Minister of Health, Dr. Rashid Pelpo, has urged the association to reconsider its decision and return to the negotiation table. But with no sign of compliance, the Ministry of Labour, Employment and Jobs has stepped in to mediate. Labour Minister Dr. Rashid Pelpo has expressed deep concern over the looming strike.
When we embark on a strike, it has a total effect on society. In whatever sector you belong, it has a direct effect on society. It has a direct effect on our development. So it means that employers, stakeholders must always work together to come to conclusions where there is no need for a strike.
He is calling on the leadership to allow room for negotiations to continue in good faith.
Eventually, government must listen to them. The health authorities must listen to them. If it is something that is going to bring peace to society.
However, the president of the Nurses and Midwives Association, Perpetual Ofori Ampofo, maintains that the government must implement the agreed conditions of service regardless of ongoing calls for dialogue.
All statements will come and it is up for consideration. But I'm saying the bottom line is we are asking for what is just and fair. We are asking for what is duly ours, which has been delayed unduly in terms of its implementation. Somebody should speak for us. Somebody should act.
The association's decision has drawn criticism from some groups within the health sector, but the leadership insists their stance represents the collective interests of all nurses and midwives.
I don't think that if anybody was in our shoes, you sit as a leader and you have a lot of agitations happening to the extent that you have even your specialized societies, some threatening issues, with issues here and there, you just also sit aloof and allow things to happen. The accusations of leadership being in bed with the current government and doing one thing or the other as if we are serving our own purpose, which is not the case.
We also asked whether the planned strike must be politically motivated or an attempt to undermine the government's image.
we as a council of the association, I can tell you, in my council, I have die-hard MPP faithfuls. I have die-hard NDC faithfuls. I have lawyers. I have reverends. I have all sorts of people within the council. When we sit and we have to take a decision related to the profession, it is non-partisan.
With tensions mounting and time running out, stakeholders are calling for urgent dialogue to avert a possible nationwide health crisis.
Now that is definitely a story to watch, and we here at TV3 will continue to update you as new developments emerge. But that'll be all for today. Thank you so much for your company. It's been a full week of News Central. We'll be back on Monday. I'm Kemeni Amano. Bye-bye.